When they reached the edge of the cliff, Mutoni began whispering ancient words, enchanting him into a trance. Nyanga's eye glazed over as Mutoni produced a small dagger, making a careful cut along his wrist. She collected his blood into a dark ancient god, watching as his life drained away. As his strength faded, she released him, letting his body slip over the edge of the cliff. The next day, she mourned publicly, telling the villagers that he had fallen as an accident. In a secluded village at the edge of a dense forest, there was a woman named Mutoni. She was beautiful, wise, and beloved by all the villagers. Yet Mutoni carried a dark secret that had granted her endless youth while taking everything from her children. Mutoni was a witch, and she had discovered a ritual to prolong her life by drinking the blood of her own children, one by one. With each child that she bore, Mutoni waited until they reached the perfect age when their life force was at its peak. Then she would draw them into her twisted ritual, claiming their life so that she might live long, strong, and beautiful. She justified in her mind, telling herself that she did it for them, for their family legacy. But one by one, she sent each child into the shadows, only to claim their lives by herself. Nyanga was her eldest child, a strong boy full of energy and trust. Mutoni loved him in a way, but knew he would be her first sacrifice. On the quiet moonless night, she convinced Nyanga to join her on a walk to the cliffside, where the stars seemed to shine brighter than anywhere else. Nyanga, innocent and trusting her mother, he followed her eagerly, marveling in the sky. When they reached the edge of the cliff, Mutoni began whispering ancient words, chanting him into a trance. Nyanga's eye glazed over as Mutoni produced a small dagger, making a careful cut along his wrist. She collected his blood into a dark ancient god, watching as his life drained away. As his strength faded, she released him, letting his body flip over the edge of the cliff. The next day, she mourned publicly, telling the villagers that he had fallen in an accident. The second child was Werimu. Werimu, Mutoni's second child, was quick-witted and full of laughter. Mutoni loved his brightness, but knew it was time to perform the ritual. She waited again until one quiet evening, adding a sleeping herb into Werimu's tea. When her daughter was deep in sleep, Mutoni carried her in a hidden grove she had dedicated to herself for her dark magic. There, under the pale light of the half moon, Mutoni drew her ceremonial dagger and made a small cut on Werimu's arm. The girl was staring her slightly. Her eyes fluttered open as she looked into her mother's eye in confusion. Before Werimu could utter a word or react, Mutoni whispered a spell that paralyzed her. Tears filled Werimu's eyes, but she was powerless to move as her mother drained her blood. When it was over, Mutoni buried her daughter beneath a mound of leaves, hidden in a disturbed earth. To the village, she explained that Werimu had wandered into the forest and gotten lost. The third child was a boy with a gentle spirit, Mutiri. Mutoni chose a rainy night to take him into the woods, saying they were going to gather herbs. Mutiri clung to her hand, with his small fingers wrapped around hers, as they trunk through the mud. When they reached a small shadow pond, Mutoni pretended to show him a rare plant growing near the water's edge. When he bent down, she pushed him forward, forcing his head into the water. Mutiri struggled, his hands splashing and grasping at the mud, but Mutoni hid him down, whispering ancient words. In silence, she cut the water, mingled with his blood, a wooden bowl. When he struggled, she let the pond take his small body, making it look as if he was drowned by the water. Her fourth child, Gichuki. Gichuki was very brave and strong, the most fearless of her children. Mutoni knew a trickery would be needed with him as he was too sharp to be easily deceived. So she lured him deep into the forest one night, taking him to a hidden cave where she claimed an ancient treasure was hidden. Gichuki's eyes sparkled with excitement as he entered the dark cave, but Mutoni moved quickly, blocking the entrance with stones to trap them both inside. She spoke a binding spell, and Gichuki's body froze. Though his mind was alert, his eyes wide with terror. Mutoni approached him, placing her hand over his heart as he pressed her ceremonial blade into his chest. She collected his blood while he lay helplessly, and when it was done, she left his body in the shadow of the cave, sealing it with stones. The villagers never found his body, assuming that he was taken by wild animals inside the forest. Fourth child, Wendy. Wendy, her youngest daughter, was a lively, joyful girl. Mutoni felt a strange sadness about the ritual, knowing that soon she would be taking her last daughter's life. But she convinced herself that it had to be done. She spread a rumor in the village that a strange illness had entered their home, telling everyone that Wendy had fallen sick. In secret, Mutoni began to give Wendy a slowly acting poison, telling her that it was a medicine. Wendy's health declined, her spirit dimmed as her body grew weaker and weaker. One night, Mutoni sat by her bedside, watching her last daughter slip away. When Wendy took her final breath, Mutoni cut a shallow wound on her wrist, collecting the blood that would extend her life. She buried her daughter in a stone-marked grave, telling the villagers that Wendy had succumbed to the mysterious illness. Sixth child, Dungu. Dungu was her last son before Kyo, a sensitive, thoughtful boy who trusted his mother completely. On the night full of the moon, Mutoni led Dungu into the forest, telling him that he was ready to receive a special blessings from their ancestors. In the clearing beneath the glowing moon, she instructed him to sit under an ancient tree and close his eyes. As he sat under the ancient tree, Mutoni cast a binding spell to keep him from moving. She moved behind him, whispering ancient chants, and pressed a blade to his neck, collecting his blood in a small jar. Dungu's heart filled with confusion and betrayal, but he was powerless against her magic. When she was done and he died, she buried him quickly and scattered ashes all over the grave to keep him hidden from wandering eyes. The last child was Kyo. Kyo was the last of Mutoni's children, and as he grew older, he became curious about the disappearance of his siblings. He noticed that his mother's strange behavior and the way she looked at him with both love and something darker. One night, he secretly followed her into the forest, staying hidden among the shadows as she prepared her final rituals. Kyo watched in horror as Mutoni chanted dark words, speaking of how his blood would be granted for her eternal life. He understood that his mother had taken his sibling's life, and he stepped out, confronting her with the tears in his eyes. Mutoni tried to charm him, pleading that she had done it for the family, but Kyo's heart was pure, and he spoke words of truth, and the spirit heard. In an instant, the spirit turned against Mutoni, furious at her betrayal of her own blood. The forest came alive, and the ancient powers that she had welded into her hands turned back upon her. Roots rose from the ground, blending her into the place as her beauty and strength drained away. Her youthful face withered, her body turned old and frail until she crumbled into dust, leaving nothing behind. Kyo's heart broken but free, He returned to the village carrying the memory of his siblings with him. From that day on, he vowed to live a life of kindness and goodness, breaking the dark legacy that his mother has left behind. That's the end of today's stories. Friends, please subscribe, like, and share the video. Thank you very much for listening to me today. Bye.